Hey, and welcome to The Solid Verbal. Now would be a perfect time to consider subscribing. Yeah, that little subscribe button for year-round premium college football content. That's it. Here's the video. Enjoy. Subscribe.
Why don't we start there? Why don't we start with Tennessee 52, Alabama to 49, Dan. This game had everything you could want from a college football game. It was an incredible watching experience. You had the big plays. You had back and forth scoring. You had odd circumstances, like when they go to the video review to figure out what down it is. Never saw that one before. Never saw.
Oh, they screwed that up in an Oregon Wazoo game like 3 weeks ago, but yeah.
Never saw that one before. And then, of course, you have the game-winning kick that wasn't blocked but came out like a knuckleball and still went through from 40 yards away. Like you or I kicked it, but with more power.
Yes.
So truly ran the gamut of college football emotion. That, of course, is on top of decades of history between these two programs, not the least of which is the last 15 years, which have not been too kind to Tennessee. They tore down the goalposts. My understanding is they threw them in the Tennessee River afterwards.
Of course.
It seems like it was quite a night in Knoxville, Tennessee, Dan. I don't even know where to start with this game. Where do you want to start with this game?
The beginning? We can start at the beginning. Tennessee without its best receiver and Cedric Tillman does not matter. Jalen Hyatt was incredible. Hendon Hooker was largely incredible. A couple mistakes here and there, but just proving on the biggest possible stage for Tennessee at home against Alabama in October that he deserves to be in the Heisman conversation. He looked like the more confident quarterback going downfield, trusting his line, stepping into the pocket. And Bryce Young's game is different, right? He's much more of an improviser. But Hendon Hooker and that ability to take the top off of the Alabama defense, ooh, it's going to be a tough Monday in that DB's room for Alabama. To weather the Alabama pass rush, of course, with Dallas Turner and Will Anderson is incredible. I just came away flat out impressed with Tennessee's ability to jump out to the lead, to ultimately withstand the inevitable Bama chargeback.
That's right. And we knew that was coming, right?
We knew it was coming.
We knew that was coming.
And whatever it was with the muff punts, with the turnovers, obviously the scoop and score for Alabama, and the back and forth nature of the game late, and obviously some dubious, at best, refereeing. Of course, everybody can say it. Don't worry about it. Everybody can say it. Refereeing affects moments, but not necessarily full game outcomes. Everybody has opportunities. There are big moments that can be affected by it. But both of these teams had shots, and Will Reichert, of course, misses was it a 50-yard attempt?
Yeah.
In the waning seconds, and then Tennessee. The pass to Brew McCoy. That's one of my favorite just physical plays in the sport, when a ball goes up and basically both the DB and receiver kind of have like a 52 to 48 claim on the ball, and the receiver comes down with it with a thud. Everybody's all right. And it's one of those like great literal crescendo moments as they both go up and high point the ball. And so Brew McCoy comes down with the incredible catch late over the middle. And for that kick to go in with the path of the ball and the spinning of the ball looking like, my best approximation is like if you gave him an orangutan like a ninja throwing star. This is what it would look like as he tried to hit a target 14 feet away.
Bad. It looked like if you or I kicked it.
Yeah.
We would have that spin on our kick.
Knuckleballs are intentional, right? So the knuckleball quality to the path. So that was an incredible moment. And then Tennessee storming the field, the cigar smoke, everything, Peyton Manning in the house. I think he was the game day guest picker.
Yep.
But the scene that unfolded, and I'm sure for Alabama it was horrible, but the scene that unfolded, the streak being what it was, like 15 years or whatever, and then coming in that moment, like exceeding expectations, both in terms of performance, wins, everything. It's nothing short of electrifying. I loved it.
It was a great moment for Tennessee. Not as much so for an Alabama fan, but Tennessee certainly has been waiting for a good long time. You mentioned Jalen Hyatt, right? Mm-hmm. Cedric Tillman was out. Jalen Hyatt caught 6 balls for 207 yards. 5 of those catches went for touchdowns.
Yeah.
So he was clearly a big-time playmaker, one that Hendon Hooker needed in this game. And as I said at the top, so much we have these weeks like this where we're wondering, can teams match up? Will this matchup that appears like it'll be fun on paper actually get there? This was one where Tennessee clearly came out of the gates hot. Tennessee clearly had what it took offensively to match up with Alabama. And I think just because we saw this performance from them now, we know they're capable of it. Mm-hmm. I don't want to put the cart too much before the horse, but it does change the calculus in the SEC a great deal. To know that Tennessee's got a game like this in them, I don't know if they've got more. We know the offense is pretty dang good. We know it's going to be tough to outscore them, but you start thinking, all right, like, I don't know if Tennessee's good enough to rip through the rest of its schedule without losing a dumb one, but I would have to imagine that when they play against Georgia, it's a little bit more interesting now than it seemed a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
Right? The SEC West, we saw what Ole Miss did on the ground. Ole Miss has Bama coming up pretty soon. The SEC West is slowly taking shape in maybe a different way than the SEC East. Like, it just makes the conversation a lot different now in the SEC in a way that I feel like we have not really felt in quite some time in the SEC. It's always just been Bama and then some second fiddle. And I hate to put Georgia in that category because Georgia beat him in the SEC title game and won the national championship last year.
Well, Georgia didn't beat him in the SEC title game, but yeah. Alabama
Georgia made it to the SEC title game and then obviously beat him in the national championship, excuse me.
Yeah.
But my only point is just that it's been a while since we had another team that we could really worry about in the SEC.
Over the course of time, right? Consistently over
the course
years.
of time. Over the course of time. Yeah.
For sure.
And this, to me, I think makes it a much different conversation now moving forward the second half of the season. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. Tennessee is in still for a challenge because they have Kentucky and Georgia in back-to-back weeks, I believe, late October, early November. They're pretty thin health-wise on defense. This is still a very early time in Josh Heupel's tenure, obviously taking over with not a lot on that roster. So in terms of Tennessee consistently competing at the top of the conference at full health and fully weaponized and operational, absolutely. But that's not the reality of late October, November. And so we'll see what happens against Georgia and Kentucky, but they're going to eventually... To me, it's a no-brainer that they're going to get to a really interesting place in terms of depth on that roster. But I think we should just celebrate this moment because...
Let's celebrate it.
It was incredible. Yeah. For Hendon Hooker, by the way, who's in his 14th year as a college football player, by the way, recruited by Mark Helfrich 3 coaches ago at Oregon. Lost the job to Joe Milton. He himself, Hendon Hooker, said he really had a tough time figuring out the rhythm of that, fast-paced offense and really struggled with it. And to come into his own in this way is just, it's a sensational story.
He looks really good. Hendon Hooker and Bryce Young in this game were almost equally as incredible. Different styles of play, but as a fan of a team in the NFL, i.e. the New York Giants, who very clearly need a quarterback of the future, I would take either one of them. I'd probably kill for Bryce Young.
Sure.
Bryce Young he's just different when he's out there and has a line in front of him. Not to say the Giants can give him that line, but this is not an NFL show. We'll see. Big win for Tennessee, 52-49. Next 3 games for Bama are very interesting. Mississippi State, at LSU, and at Ole Miss.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect from any of those teams at any given time after Mississippi State's performance against Kentucky. After LSU's performance sometimes, against Tennessee, but SEC is fascinating. Absolutely.